Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Today we're looking at some new cards that are coming out of the Agent Structure deck. The first one is Guard of the Agent's Moon. It's a Link 2 Light Attribute Fairy type Link monster with 1800 attack, and the link points are the right and the bottom right. It requires 2 Fairy type monsters as its materials. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. 1. If this card is link summoned, you can send 1 the Sanctuary in the Sky, or 1 card that specifically lists that card in its text from your deck to the graveyard, or if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you can add the Agent of Mystery Earth from your deck or graveyard to your hand instead. And 2. You contribute 1 fairy monster, then target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. Firstly, the summoning on this card is very easy. It just needs 2 fairy type monsters. If you think of, I think it's the Agent of Venus, that has the ability to pay 500 life points to special summon Mystic Shine Ball from the deck, and you can use that multiple times within the turn. If you use it twice, you can use those as the cost to bring this card out. It's got a decent attack point for a Link 2, 1800 is nothing to sneeze at. You're able to pitch cards from the deck to the graveyard that just list the Sanctuary in the Sky in their text, which means that will affect most the agent cards, and even a lot of the counter fairy cards also synergize with this. That means you're able to then put them in the graveyard, and then you're probably more easily able to access them from the graveyard than you would be from the deck. The other benefit is if the Sanctuary in the Sky happens to be either on the field or in the graveyard, you can instead add the Agent of Mystery Earth from the deck or graveyard to the hand, which helps you to then search for either the agent cards or even Master Hyperion if you happen to have the Sanctuary in the Sky on the field. Everything about this card and its first effect helps to just synergize and pull the deck together. Secondary ability is a destruction effect, just to get rid of 1 card your opponent controls, and it can be any fairy type monster. It can even be this one once you've got the full use out of its effect. The Sacred Water in the Sky is a normal spell card with the effect. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. 1. Activate 1 of the Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck, or add 1 monster that specifically lists that card in its text from your deck to your hand. Then if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you can pay 500. You can gain 500 life points for each Hyperion and the agent monster you control. 2. If your monsters that specifically list the Sanctuary in the Sky in its text would be destroyed by battle, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. The first effect of this card helps to just search for your Sanctuary in the Sky, and then you can activate it. Benefit of that being a lot of the agent monsters and the counter fairies gain additional effects if you happen to have the field spell already activated as well. That just helps to boost what you can do with those monsters and those effects. It also gives you the life point boost for each Hyperion and the agent monster you control if you have the Sanctuary in the Sky already activated in the field or a copy of it in the graveyard. That means a lot of the counter fairies don't have life point generating effects, and it's a good way of keeping you on higher life points, especially since some of the counter trap cards do have cost requirements. For example, some of the Solemn cards, Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning, all have a life point cost, so you don't have any consistent way of recovering your life points. Besides this card now, at least you've got a version of it. Secondary ability just provides your Sanctuary in the Sky monsters with battle protection for the turn and for that one-off effect. Decent enough, it keeps them alive, and you can be able to use those cards more effectively during your next turn, or at least to protect your life points for that turn. And the final card is the Executor of Hades Pluto. This is a level 5 Dark Attribute Fairy type Synchro Tuner effect monster with 2300 attack and 0 defense. Its materials are 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monster. This card is always treated as the agent card. You can only use this card's name's second effect once per turn. Once per turn you can banish 1 monster from your graveyard, then target 1 effect monster on the field, change it to face down defense position. This is a quick effect if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard. 2. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 the Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck or graveyard to your hand. The summoning requirement on this card isn't too difficult. Knowing your luck, you'll probably need either a level 2 or a level 3 tuner monster, and then the equivalent as its non-tuner version. You know, it's just going to require 2 monsters. This first effect is a Book of Moon, but it does require you to banish one of your monsters to trigger this effect. It can be any monster, it doesn't have to be a fairy monster, so you can actually splash other things within the deck. So long as you're summoning this card and it's generic materials, it doesn't have to be fairy type either. It's nice that it does have the quick effect, as it can be activated during yours or your opponent's turn if you have the Sanctuary in the Sky on the field or in the graveyard. And the other benefit is you can simply banish this card to add the Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck or graveyard back to your hand, and then hopefully be able to use that again. My only confusion around this card is that it's a Synchro Tuner monster. I know you've got a high level Synchro monster that's already in the game, it's a version of Hyperion, but my concern being that most Synchro Tuner monsters are specifically made so that they've got a boss monster that requires a specific Synchro Tuner. If we are still awaiting that card, I'm sure that's going to be the true boss monster that's in the structure deck. Hopefully we'll see that soon, and then I can actually review that card. And I will also be reviewing the extra reprints that structure deck is already providing as well. What do you guys think of these cards? Do you think it's actually going to make any difference to how the deck runs? Are you excited to play these new cards? Or do you think they're not good enough for the current strategy and the direction of Yu-Gi-Oh? Whatever you think, leave those comments down below, like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content.